before him have ever been able to do. Sometimes it's what he does that's astounding, but many times it's the way he does it. Ariel Ortega is such a player. The ease with which he dribbles past defenders, the goals from seemingly impossible angles, these are the ingredients that make a superstar. These are the gifts of Ariel Ortega. On the 4th of March 1974, in the little town of Ledesma in the province of Jujuy in southern Argentina, Mirta de Ortega delivered the baby boy. At the same time, a weathered Jose Antonio Ortega was bragging to his friends that his anxiously awaited son, Ariel, had just been born.
Esto se llama la pantalla, ha sido la pileta de natación de Ariel, mi hijo, y pasó casi la mayoría de su niñez acá, se venía a bañar él con los amigos, la usaba a esta como pileta, y ese caño que ven ahí lo usaba de trampolín y saltaban para el otro lado. Cuando no lo encontraba en la cancha, lo encontraba acá.
The Ortegas were at that time a very poor and humble family that needed every penny in order to live. But the birth of Ariel was the first step towards a glorious future, although at the time things didn't seem nearly that certain.
Como yo le decía que el dinero de la familia, los hijos que uno tiene, hijos. Y Dios me ha bendecido con darme vos, hijo, porque vos nos acomodabas la vida. Y agradecido de vos, hijo.
Ariel, or El Burro, as his father called him, showed from a very early age that he had tremendous football ability. He would practice in the pony rings, or potreros as they're called in Ledesma, always drawing crowds that would gather to watch him as he developed his extraordinary talent.
Este chico era como una luz, pillaba una pelota y gambeteaba 2 o 3 y entraba al área y definía los partidos. Me emocionaba mucho porque se levantaba la tribuna y coreaba su nombre, el burro, el burro.
Ariel had no interest in school whatsoever. Many times he skipped classes to go and play in the potreros. And by the time he was 13, he had played truant on so many occasions, he decided to leave school for good.
Prácticamente el colegio no me gustaba, directamente no iba. Decía que en mi casa que iba, pero no iba. No me gustaba, yo quería jugar al fútbol y bueno, mis padres querían que estudie y por suerte, bueno, dejé de estudiar y hice lo que a mí me gustaba, no jugar al fútbol.
Atlético Ledesma was his first team, the first step towards a career in the sport that he loved so much. But he was still a long way from Buenos Aires, the Argentinian capital and epicenter of Argentinian football.
Después vino Roberto, me decía a mí que el pibe tenía condiciones para Buenos Aires, pero no me alcanzaba el dinero para llevarlo, me faltaba la money. Entonces él, porque es una bellísima persona, ese hombre me ofertó llevarlo y yo le dije que le iba a pagar cuando cobrara a fin de año el aguinaldo, la licencia. Y cuando fui a devolver no me quiso cobrar.
In 1988, his rights were offered to Mauricio Macri, now the president of the prestigious Boca Juniors club, who at the time was little more than an important local businessman with a passion for football. The $10,000 offer was very tempting, but he ultimately decided against it, thinking the price was too high for a 14-year-old child. Undoubtedly, this would be one of the best deals ever offered to him, but it was one that he left on the table. Burrito wasn't about to give up, however, and 2 years later, he went to try his luck with Boca Juniors' arch rivals, River Plate. Jorge Busti was the head scout at the time, and when he saw Ortega's mastery of the football, he signed him up immediately.
Tenía 14 años cuando había llegado a Jujuy. El primer entrenamiento lo vi de la concentración y ya me di cuenta que gambeteaba, hacía un dribbling muy diferente a los demás pibes. Y enseguida lo trajimos a primera, a los 15 años ya lo trajimos a primera y siempre fue figura para nosotros.
Yo siempre fui hincha de River, a mí me preguntaron a dónde quería ir a probarme, yo dije a River y bueno, por suerte fui a probarme y quedé, ¿no?
It wasn't long before Ariel Ortega was practicing with the First Division squad, and his dreams were beginning to come to fruition. As legend has it, in his first training session with the full team, he wasn't intimidated by the others, and instead humiliated River's former captain, Jorge Pipa Higuaín, by dribbling circles around him.
Jugué muy bien ese entrenamiento, creo que fue una linda práctica porque bueno, me salieron todas, Pasarela vino y me daba alguna opinión, algunos consejos, qué sé yo, y yo no lo podía creer.
With each passing day, Ortega seemed to be inching closer and closer to his dream of becoming one of the world's best footballers. And he lived each moment on the pitch with an impassioned fervour. Ortega's debut in the First Division would come shortly after his joining River Plate. On the 14th of December 1991, River played against Platense, in a game that had very little meaning as the so-called millionaires had already won the Apertura Championship. Coach Daniel Passarella decided to rest his first-team regulars. And in the 1991 season finale at the Vicente Lopez Stadium, Ortega was inserted into the starting lineup for the first time. River won the match, a game-winning goal set up by El Burrito.
Jugué 5 minutos, también fue el día más feliz de mi vida, creo que también no lo podía creer.
On the 5th of July 1992, River Plate visited Quilmes, who at the time were a First Division side. 13 minutes into the second half, Ariel Ortega scored the first goal of his professional career, giving River a 2-1 lead in a game that would eventually end in a 3-1 victory for Ortega and his teammates.
Sí, contra Quilmes, me parece que lo hice de zurda. Creo que me tiró un centro Silvani y yo le empujé de zurda. Me parece que fue ese el primer gol.
In 1993, River Plate made some important changes in their lineup, bringing through future stars Marcelo Gallardo and Hernan Crespo. Both of them were favourites of Daniel Passarella, who would later lead the national team through the qualifying competition for the 1998 FIFA World Cup and then on to France.
El grupo fue fundamental, y a partir de ahí ganamos los campeonatos, la Copa Libertadores, y creo que de ahí también se marca un poco la historia de River también.
By 1993, Ortega had established himself as a first-team regular, and in fact missed only one game in the Argentinian league over the course of the 1993 and 94 seasons. It was during this campaign that River Plate put together one of their greatest performances, and where Ortega first began to shine as the team's star man.
Yo, bueno, mi primer clásico yo lo había jugado en Mar del Plata, pero después había jugado en River también, que empatamos 2-2.
The game was played in week 6 of the season, and Ortega scored the all-important first goal of the match, setting the tone for the rest of the game. Teenager Hernan Crespo added goal number 2, giving River Plate the 2-0 victory, thus ending an 8-year losing sequence to Boca at their intimidating Bombonera Stadium.
Después, bueno, cuando le hice gol en la cancha de Boca, creo que eso es un recuerdo inolvidable para mí, porque hace mucho tiempo que no le ganábamos a Boca, la gente estaba con el hijo nuestro y la historia y todo, creo que también fue lindo.
Later on in the season, Daniel Passarella would have to resign as coach of River Plate, as he was asked to manage the Argentinian national team. Passarella was replaced by Americo El Tolo Gallego. With each passing game, Burrito was becoming more and more entrenched as a superstar, and the undeniable leader of this River Plate team. Spurred on by Ortega's magical play, the return of Enzo Francescoli, and the direction of newly appointed coach Gallego, River would make history by becoming the only team to win the championship undefeated in the storied history of the league.
Una persona que te transmitía por ahí tranquilidad, te transmitía ganas de jugar. Creo que fue algo lindo a mí que me pasó con Francesco. Le tuve la posibilidad de jugar bastante con él y bueno, por suerte nos fue bien y bueno, me queda el recuerdo de haber jugado con un grande, ¿no?
1995 would prove to be a down year for River Plate, as they sacked Carlos Babington, their third coach in as many years, due to the team's lack of production. Fortunately for Ortega's side, they had already qualified for the quarter-finals of the Copa Libertadores, the South American Club Championship. New coach Ramon Diaz would take over the reins, but River would lose in a penalty shootout at the semi-final stage to a very tough Colombian side, Nacional of Medellín.
Babington no tuvo, por ahí la suerte o la tranquilidad de trabajar un poco más y bueno, en River no te perdonan, así que bueno, se tuvo que ir, después vino Ramón y bueno, Ramón también en los primeros tiempos no estuvo tan bien que digamos, y bueno, después creo que con los jugadores que había y la personalidad que teníamos nosotros, sacamos también el equipo adelante.
In 1996, River and Ariel Ortega decided to prove to the football world that 95 had been a fluke and that they were still the preeminent force in South America. This time, River would face another Colombian team in the final. They squared off against America from Cali and cruised to a 2-0 victory and the Libertadores crown behind Ortega's brilliant play and 2 goals from emerging sensation Hernan Crespo. This game would prove pivotal, as it made some of the wealthy European teams take notice. Crespo would soon leave River Plate for Parma and a chance to play in the famed Italian league. Meanwhile, Ortega would patiently await his chance to dazzle the fans across the Atlantic Ocean by simply preparing himself to play the next season for River Plate. In March of 1997, the Spanish team Valencia decided to make a move. They'd been watching Burritos play for some time and believed he would be an important piece in their championship puzzle. Valencia purchased his rights for a record $12 million. The coach at the time was the Argentinian Jorge Valdano, an important player in the '86 World Cup in Mexico, but more significantly, one who knew what Ortega was capable of producing on the football pitch. Ortega showed Valencia his gratitude in his debut match against Sevilla by scoring 2 goals and finding a place in the hearts of the Valencia fans. In the 3rd week of the season, Valdano was dismissed and replaced by the Italian Claudio Ranieri. It soon became apparent that Ranieri and Ortega would have problems working together. Indeed, Ranieri soon relegated the popular striker to the bench.
Él y bueno, prácticamente pidió que se vayan todos los jugadores que casi que había pedido Valdano. Yo me quería ir sin ningún problema, pero él decía que me quería en el equipo y no jugaba.
These differences between Ranieri and Ortega precipitated his early exit and his enrollment with the Italian team Sampdoria after an excellent performance for Argentina during the 1998 World Cup finals in France. He was transferred for $13 million, $1 million more than his record-breaking price of only 1 year earlier.
Sí, en la Sampdoria creo que fue algo muy lindo que me pasó.
With the arrival of Ortega in Genoa, the directors decided to clean house, letting go a few major stars in the process, including the Argentinian Juan Sebastián Verón and Yugoslav international Sinisa Mihailovic. Burrito was given the difficult duty of carrying the team on his shoulders and attempted to do so with relatively little help. His Serie A debut came on the 13th of August 1998 in a friendly match against Spezia. The match ended in a goalless draw. Ortega would have to wait to score his first goal in Italy until the next friendly against Cuneo on the 2nd of September of the same year. 28 minutes into the second half, Ortega ended his short drought and scored his first goal for his new club. His debut and his first goal in a competitive match for Sampdoria came 7 days later, when his team beat Verona 2-0 in the second round of the Italian Cup. Although he was becoming more comfortable living in Italy and playing for his new side, Ortega wasn't entirely happy. He missed Argentina, and thoughts of returning home would begin to enter his mind. In July 1999, with football prices escalating to levels never before seen, another Italian team, Parma, would pay $22 million for Ariel Ortega. His first match with the new team was on the 26th of July against an amateur club. In one of the most lopsided games in recent Italian football history, Parma won by 31 goals to 0. Burrito scored only 1 goal in the match, allowing his teammates to enhance their reputations instead.
Estuve en el Parma, creo que fue... Bueno, lo primero, hasta diciembre estuve muy bien, el equipo terminó segundo en el campeonato. Bueno, después volví, bueno, no sé qué pasó ahí, el técnico después no me hizo jugar más, no me dijeron nada, y también fue una historia muy rara.
By the beginning of 2000, unsure of his status with Parma and longing to go back to Argentina, Ortega would make a very difficult decision. While most football players would die for the opportunity to play for a European team, Ariel decided to go back home to the place where he felt protected and secure. He decided to return to River Plate.
Venía a River Plate, bueno, por suerte se me cumplió el sueño de mi vida.
Ariel ha aprendido mucho ahora que se fue a Europa, vino más armado, tiene un físico más, que aguanta más a los defensores y que lo veo con un hambre de gol. Ahora, antes no pateaba tanto al arco, ahora está pateando mucho al arco sigue siendo el mismo pibe que conocí cuando tenía 15 años acá en River. Eso es lo mejor que le puede pasar a un jugador, no cambiar, por más que se vaya a Europa.